Mm-hmm.
That path is you speak to a group that believes that equality will take something away from them. You take a group and you create an ideology of white nationalism. It has to have roots in something in your history. So for Nazi Germany, there was an Aryan nation kind of history. The United States baked in white supremacy into the Constitution. When the rest of the world was trying to find its way against enslavement, and the United States not only protected slavery, but gave the southern slaveholding states the power to count their slaves, not as full humans, but as votes to dominate our politics. We're still at it. Then you speak to that grievance in ways that create divisions. And finally, you take political power at any cost. So right now, I didn't used to talk politics. I used to be very attentive to my job as a professor who taught based on evidence and not based on politics. I continue to speak for health equity. So you begin to take over government with the polarization and the grievance mentality. And you take control where you can, the judiciary, voting, local government, and you do whatever you have to gain power. You say, we cannot let Barack Obama appoint a judge. That would be wrong. The people must elect. Then you now have Trump in the presidency, and all of a sudden you have a corrupt government that says, we must let the president select. So these are just small examples of how you twist a combination of grievance, how it is that people come to believe that if I have something, you have less. That has to be manipulated because abundance is like love. The more you give, the more you have. It's like faith. The more you give, the more you have. So you have to be carefully taught. So I was recently, before the pandemic, at a very beautiful event at Brandeis University. I don't often go to Jewish-focused events, but a beloved friend of one of my nieces had worked on a book. It was 2 books by documenters of their family history with the Holocaust. A young woman who took the memoirs of her grandmother, who was a Holocaust survivor, and a German descent woman. She came through Brazil, and she discovered, by being a detective historian, that her grandfather in Brazil had been in secret the head of the SS in Germany. And he had managed to escape to Brazil, and he had managed to hide his crimes. And we're all sitting around. This was an event to speak to what do we need to know about our histories. And all of us there, the writers, the discussants, the scholars, the survivors, we thought this would never happen again. We thought we were never going to see fascism of the Nazi Germany sort ever again. We now have children on the border in cages. We have the criminalization of immigrants. We have a criminal who's a president and who's going down in flames. Don't think he's not. We have the Republican militias with armbands preparing to go to the polling booths. They are preparing for election suppression, for voter suppression. The minute a Republican majority had appointed most of the judges, they removed, I can't look at the chats. I have cognitive processing issues. The minute the Supreme Court was challenged to say, do we still have voter suppression in the United States? They said no with no evidence. And we now have the problem of having to go county by county, state by state, to address the manipulation of the vote. The only Republican strategy right now. And look, I didn't used to say Republican Democrat, but now that we have Nazis, we got to do it.
I don't think Donald Trump's a Nazi.
Okay, all right, great, Mary. This is not the debate I'd like to have. You asked me a question.
Right.
And let's have this offline, okay? I've got to be done with Mary.
No, but
I'm very glad to share the resources I have to understand. All right, so maybe he's not a Nazi. Maybe he's just a fraud and a criminal.
Well, can I just say something, please? It's about the children at the border. Are you aware of how many children are trafficked into this country?
Oh, Mary, of course I am.
Because I think that's a really big human rights issue that no one speaks about.
And so, Mary, you would like us to talk about trafficked children? All right. Let's do it some other time.
Okay.
Was there something? How am I doing, guys?
I think Manny raised his hand, and
three-headed chimera that guards the gates of life and the gates of death. That this is what keeps oppression in place, and it's systemic. So I do try to center on what women of color know, because in most parts of the world, they have had the darkest view of inequality and work the hardest to keep our families together anyway. Trafficking is an abomination, Mary. As is a president who is willing to talk in public about having sex with his daughter. Just saying. Was there any... Well, let me just say, I am very glad to give people, probably not today, but my Zoom office hours, my email. I think my email is on the PowerPoint presentation. Very, very glad to, follow up if you have questions and you'd like to send them to me. I'll also put together more of the accessible resources. Once we move to Zoom, I'm using more video because I just think it's hard to do all this without the support of a classroom, in-person environment, and it's important to have different ways of accessing the information.
Well, we've come to the end of our class. Thank you so much, Professor Shapiro, for an engaging session. I see that the students are on the lookout for classes that you're teaching in the spring.
I apologize if the intensity was dialed up to, 10 plus? What is it on? It's just, too many people are dying.
Well, you're great.
Including our students. I just feel it. So thank you, everybody, and I look forward to continuing the conversations offline.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Professor Shapiro.
It was so good seeing you. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
So let's, Aki, thanks to everybody, and Mary, apologies.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, sir. Bye. Thank you.
See you on Thursday, everyone. And if you would like to join Meg during office hours,